Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. Out of ammo, out of time. I'm your host as always, Krabby Terror 8, in episode 36 of season 1 of The Gathering with everybody's favorite professor of arcane studies and things, Harvey Walters. Yes, I'm very excited that I'm getting to play Harvey. Just a bit of a background here. In 1986, I took a visit to the US and I saw this role-playing game. I played Dungeons & Dragons at the time, but I saw this role-playing game in a shop that I'd never seen before called The Call of Cthulhu. And I'm like, oh, that looks okay, 1920s role-playing. So I purchased that and brought it back to Australia. And started playing that. Really loved that role-playing experience. And of course, Harvey Walters was the, if you like, the tutorial investigator in that very first game there. So he is really iconic in the Call of Cthulhu, Arkham Horror Files games. And so I'm so delighted that he's here. Also, I have the original version of Arkham Horror, the original board game, the first iteration of it, and of course Harvey Walters is in that as well. So it's really awesome that he is now an investigator to play. I think it was always going to be that he would pop up at some stage, and here he is. And what an investigator he is! I'm a big fan of Seekers. I like the idea. I'm less invested in sort of the pulpy side of Arkham Horror, where it's sort of, lots of violence and blowing things up and winning against gods, and more into the unsettling impossibility of facing cosmic horrors and the intellectual side of things, where it's rooting through dusty tomes, which in itself poses all kinds of dangers to the mind and the body. And Harvey Walters very much leans into that. So I am really delighted to be playing him. And yes, as I said, we're back season 1 of The Gathering. And for those of you who are new to the channel, I welcome you heartily. What is the Investigator Games? What is it all about? Well, I guess it's like the Hunger Games, I suppose. We take each investigator, true solo, and this is episode 36 in season 1. So we have covered every single investigator so far. We take them through the gathering, and we, depending on how they do, they end up in a league table like this one. Yes, and as we can see, the league table has everybody on there. And it's quite a range of results, really, which of course is probably to do with my ability to play this game as much as anything. But we can see quite a range. Everyone from Safina Rousseau, who topped the table in season 1, all the way through down to poor old Calvin, who just managed to scrape through with 3 experience points. Nathaniel Cho was last week, and he didn't do too badly. The problem was, as you will see if you watch that video, his deck didn't really give him much opportunity to get clues, and so that was a bit challenging. So he was never going to do it particularly fast. But yes, I would encourage you to see that. In fact, I would encourage you to watch them all, and indeed, the second season is well and truly underway. I've just come back to the first season, so these investigators get an opportunity to go through the gathering first. But the Midnight Masks also has a league table for season 2, and I think we're up to Circle Undone investigators in that, so we're quite a way through those as well. And once I've taken these new investigators through, we will circle back to the Midnight Masks and keep going. So that's how it all works. Now, spoilers, if you are new to Arkham Horror, the card game you've never played before, I would encourage you to play in real life or seek out introductory videos. I'm assuming that you know at least some basics on how to play, and that you've played The Gathering before. Yes, so I think that's all from that perspective. Let's have a look here at Harvey Walters. So Harvey Walters is part of a slew of investigators which were launched by Fantasy Flight Games with standalone packs and starter decks, and I think they're fantastic. Certainly the starter decks are better than previous starter decks, which sort of just assumed you had the basic one basic introductory set of cards and maybe the campaign that they were aligned with. So these ones are a bit more rounded, which is certainly welcome, but they're still not optimized, but they're certainly better. Before we get into the deck, let's just have a look at Harvey Walters. So he is the professor. He's Miskatonic traded. Now his stat line is sort of what you would expect, I suppose. He's got very high intellect and high willpower, but alarmingly, but also as you would expect, his fight is very low with only 1, and his agility, he's an old dude, so he doesn't get around very fast with only 2. So he is really going to need to lean into his intellect in particular to get things done. Now, there are a number of cards that allow him to do that because you can evade enemies, so he's going to have to deal with enemies in other ways, but there are cards like Mind Over Matter, of course, I've Got a Plan, and some new cards that Harvey has that allow him to face off against enemies using his intellect rather than his fight. Also, his high willpower means that he's going to be brushing off things like rotting remains and things like that. Not too bad at all. So yeah, very much leaning into the seeker side of things. So yeah, kind of what we would expect really from Harvey. He has a special ability which really talks to what Harvey's about, because he's a man of great resource, great intellectual resource. So after an investigator at your location draws 1 or more cards from their deck during the investigation phase, that investigator draws a card. So card drawing and Elder Sign effect +1 and draw a card. So very much here, this is about Seeker, and Daisy sort of fits into this as well. Seekers that are able to sort of draw additional cards and have a very full hand, which gives them lots of resources and lots of choices, which sort of reflects the idea that they've got lots of intellectual resources as well. And as we'll see, particularly around tomes, as you would expect, Harvey Walters, there's a lot of tome activity. So there's an interesting dichotomy here between seekers and those that lean in more to the mystic side of things. Sort of like Harvey can evoke magic and magic effects, but not through spells as such, but more through evocations around forbidden or arcane texts, if you like. So it's a way of unlocking magic and the power of magic without being a mystic, but more around the unlocking of texts and books and tomes, which is very much part of the Lovecraft mythos, if you like. So there we go. 7 and 8, very robust for his age. He's certainly got robust health and, of course, mental agility. So he can really take a few knocks, which is good. I have experience dealing with these sorts of horrors. So yeah, Harvey knows what he's doing. Fantastic. Now, if we just flip him over and just have a look, all these new investigators have, unlike other investigators that, there's a lot of funny business around their deck building options. These ones, and we saw this with Nathaniel, and in some ways it's sort of welcome in a sense, sort of back to more straightforward deck building options. And, Harvey is no exception here. Seeker cards 0 to 5, neutral cards 0 to 5. So just very, very straightforward from that perspective. Harking back to the days of the Night of the Zealot campaign in that sense. Deck building requirements as well are standard. We'll have a look at his deck in a second. Let me just read out what it says about him. Professor Walters began as a devotee of the archaic and obscure, but over the years he has discovered that his knowledge of ancient language, profane relics, and strange rituals is vital to addressing dangers in the modern day. He is both an avid collector of prehistoric ephemera and a font of knowledge regarding the bizarre primordial religions that worshipped nightmarish gods eons ago. There is perhaps no sane person alive who knows more about the occult than Harvey. When a supernatural event occurs, Professor Walters brings his considerable resources and experience to bear. So there we go. Really, really interesting stuff. Okay, so that's Harvey in a nutshell. Now let's just have a look at his introductory deck. So this is the sort of standard deck. Now there are additional cards to upgrade and some really nice and interesting cards, but this is the starter deck. And let's just start with his, if you like, his signature asset, which is called Vault of Knowledge. Very nice, with 3 pips, one of them being a wild card. Maximum hand size is increased by 2, so you can start to see that this is leaning into the idea of having considerable resources through card ownership on the, and it has a reaction trigger after you successfully investigate, which, for Harvey is just his bread and butter. Exhaust Vault of Knowledge and choose an investigator at your location. That investigator draws a card. So the other thing, which I didn't mention, is that Harvey also brings that resource to others and allowing them to card draw as well. So, you should never need of additional cards, and it merely means you don't have to waste time drawing cards as an action, because Harvey keeps everybody, himself and others, well stocked. Now the random basic weakness I drew, I haven't seen this one before. It must be a new one, I think. It's called Reckless. Doesn't seem to be something that you'd normally associate with Harvey, but you never know. Reckless. Commit only to a skill test you're performing that has no other cards committed to it. Other cards cannot be committed to the skill test. If this test fails, return this skill to your hand. If Reckless is in your hand at the end of your turn, reveal it and lose 2 resources. Okay, I see how it works. Okay, so it's basically, a bit of a resource tax in that way. So you kind of got to commit it to something and it doesn't do anything. Okay, so there you go. That's the basic weakness. And his signature weakness, Harvey weakness, is called Thrice Damned Curiosity. For every 3 cards in your hand, take a damage. So yes, this could be potentially quite nasty, that you might have quite a lot of cards in your hand. So very much leans into, into Harvey's deck being a card draw in that way. So fantastic. So what's in this introductory deck? Well, the deck, as I said, leans into a couple of things. First of all, there is a new ally here. I haven't seen this ally before. Witten Green, Hunter of Rare Books. So a very nice ally in the sense that 2 can take 2 damage and 2 horror. So very robust ally from that perspective. And while you control a tome or a relic asset, you get +1 intellect. So that just boosts the intellect even further. Witten has this reaction trigger after you reveal a location or put a new location into play. Exhaust Witten Green, search the top 6 cards of your deck for a tome or a relic asset and draw it, and shuffle your deck. So, yes, I mean, that obviously works for Harvey, but you can also see that this would also work well in a Daisy type of deck, because tomes and things are something that she would use. And in fact, the cards in the Harvey Walters starter deck do help Daisy in the sense that they give her a whole lot of new tomes as well. So there was Witten Green. It's also got Laboratory Assistant, which is not new, but also works. There is some more other allies which are upgrades, which aren't here, but that's interesting. This is a welcome card. Higher Education is always a popular card with Seekers as a permanent, upgrade permanent, but here it's an asset, a basic asset, which allows you to get +1 willpower, +1 intellect. If you have 5 or more cards in your hand, there's no reason why Harvey Walters shouldn't have that most of the time. And then we get into some tome assets, as I said, which would be welcome in a number of decks. Celiano fragments, the Book of Books. If you have 5 or more cards in your hand, you get +1 intellect. 10 or more, you get +1 willpower. And 15 or more, you get another +1 intellect. So, just leaning into that willpower and intellect. Forbidden Tome, untranslated, and it's one of those cards where you can translate the tome. You basically, it's got 5 secrets. Exhaust Forbidden Tome, spend a secret, draw a card. Then, if you have 10 or more cards in your hand and there are no secrets on Forbidden Tome, you may discard it and record in your campaign log that, quote, you have translated the tome. And I'm sure there's an upgrade to the Forbidden Tome in here somewhere. I'm just looking through the cards. There's the Forbidden Tome. What does it upgrade to? Something, I'm sure. Something nice, some really nice tome. It's in here somewhere. I'm assuming. Here we go. Forbidden Tome. Yes. So, move 1 damage from a player card at your location to an enemy card, etc. So, yeah, some really nice effects if you a couple of different Forbidden Tomes. So that kind of seeker thing where you can, work out what the solution is, translate the script, or it's along those lines. Then we've got the Encyclopedia, which also uses secrets. Exhaust the Encyclopedia, spend a secret. Choose an investigator. Investigator's +2 on a skill of your choice. So that kind of thing. So those are some tomes, very nice additions. And then we get into the other aspect, which is rituals and spells. This ritual here allows you to increase your maximum hand size, and you can get an additional hand slot that can be used for tome assets. So again, you could end up with quite a largish hand size. This is a welcome card for a hand of cards that has very limited ways of fighting. So we can see here Occult Invocation. You just discard a couple of cards from your hand. Fight, it uses intellect, and you get +1 and +1 damage for this attack for each card discarded. So a really nice way to do damage, and in fact we're going to need that if we're going to take on the Ghoul Priest, because we don't have any other ways of doing it. So we're going to need that card, and luckily there's 2 of them. This way is another enemy management, which is not new. It's the Disc of Itzamna, which basically allows you to automatically evade that enemy or deal it 2 damage. So that's also handy to have. Then we've got Feed the Mind, which is, drawing cards. So then what we get into now with these spells and these others are ways of drawing cards. So there's preposterous sketches that we know. There's burning them in. So they're sort of card drawing of cards. And then we get into some resource drawing cards. This is burning the midnight oil. Gain 2 resources. There's also cryptic writings where you gain resources. And then finally, we've got a couple of cards that allow you to, get extra clues. Nothing new here. Deduction. We all know deduction, so that's there. But there's also this card here, which is extensive research. You discover 2 clues at your location. Now, it looks very expensive with 12, but reduce the cost to play by 1 for each other card in your hand. So if you've got 10 cards in your hand, cost 2. So it's a good card, but it's situational in the sense that you need lots of cards in your hand. And we have no emergency cash. The other thing that's interesting about these starter decks is there are no neutral cards at all. So no flashlights, no perceptions, nothing like that. So in that sense, they're a little bit unbalanced. They lean a little bit too much. I mean, it would have been great to have mind over matter. If I was going to optimize this deck, I probably would also have something like a mind over matter or I've got a plan just to round out the ability to fight. But, you know, it's a starter deck, and at least it's got 2 of everything rather than just sort of 1. For example, the Gathering would be very difficult with just 1 Occult Invocation. So there we go. That's Harvey Walters' starter deck in a nutshell. What do you think? Pretty good. I'm excited to play this and see how we go. So I'm going to close that and shuffle that up. And I think we're ready to play here in the Gathering. Harvey is in the study. I had a bit of a chat to him before in the green room. He's, you know, we had a good chat about all kinds of things, history, archaeology, and various things. He's very knowledgeable. And I think he's fairly confident in the Gathering. Quietly confident, I think, would be a way to describe it. He knows the Ghoul Priest. He knows the Ghoul Priest's history, and he knows the history behind the rituals and why the Ghoul Priest does what he does. So, in that way, he thinks he's got his measure. So he's there in the study. He's actually sitting at the table in the study reading up on some texts at the moment, pretty much ignoring the crowd that are coming in. So really, we've just got to wait for the bell, the horn to go to start the investigator games. But before we do that, as we're waiting, let's just read out the agenda and the act deck. What's going on? It's late at night and you're holed up in your study researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlour down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. And trapped. As you leap, I don't know about Harvey leaping, but as you get up slowly to investigate the door to your study... You think I'd never read this, wouldn't you? As you get up slowly to investigate, the door to your study vanishes before your eyes. Before your eyes do what? Leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. There we go. Okay, so there we go. That's all good. Just standard chaos bag we're into. Oh, and there goes the horn, and the crowd goes wild. Harvey stands up, waves at the crowd, closes one of his dusty tomes, and he's ready to go in the Gathering. Here we are. Let me just shuffle this up again, which I probably already have done, but we'll do it again, and we'll shuffle up the encounter deck, and that's shuffled up as well. So we're all good to go here. So what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Okay, well, let's see. Well, it would be great to get an ally. It'd be great to get Witten. That would be great. I also, if nothing else, do want to get that new ritual which allows me to fight. Not because I need it in the early stages, but for later. That would also be super helpful. Other than that, I think they're the main things that I want. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, they're the main things. I'm not telling you anything, but and Harvey's signature card is also really good as well. So let's see how we go. Let's draw our 5 cards and see what we get. And right, here we go. Well, we don't really necessarily get the cards we're looking for here. We've got the Celiano fragments, so that's a good card. Extensive research. I don't know, because at the moment we don't. So, and we got 2 of them. So let's take one of those out. Feed the mind. Draw a card. Yeah, I don't know. Arcane. Maximum hand size 1. Use for a tome asset. Well, yeah. I guess it's got a double willpower. Maybe I'll keep these 3 and just draw 2 more Oh, not another one. Aha. Okay. All right. Okay, so we didn't get an ally, but we did get our card here, Occult Invocation. So that's good. We will need that, so we'll keep that to one side. But we got 2 Ciliano fragments, which is kind of annoying. But anyway. All right, well, we will work with what we've got. Okay, so what are we going to do? First of all, okay. Just trying to think if there's ways we can draw cards at the moment, but there isn't. Additional hand slot. What I'm going to do is, I mean, I could be super fast. I could get the 2 clues, I'm sure, pretty fast, and get myself in the hallway, get myself up to the attic super fast. But I'm feeling like Harvey's a bit of an engine here, having the right cards in play. So I think I'm just going to do a bit of a setup. So my first action, I'm going to spend 2 and bring out Arcane Enlightenment. So that increases my maximum hand size to 9. I'll just put that here. It's got a hand size thing now. That's very nice. We've got that. And have an additional hand slot for tomes. Okay. For second action, I'm going to spend another 1. And I'm going to bring out the Ciliano. Not, it can't be Ciliano. It must be Celino fragments. Yeah. In preparation for having a lot more cards than I've got now. And then for my third action, I'll go ahead and investigate. Here we are. We're a 2 versus a 5, so a -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we get the clue. Okay. All right, there we go. So that was just basically a setup phase. I could have gone super fast and raced for the attic, but I think if things are going to work well for Harvey, I think you need the engine and the things set up to allow you to do that. So I've started that process here. Okay, so let's move into the enemy phase, or the enema phase, as I call it. No enemas to speak of course. So we will move into the upkeep phase, and we get the disc of Itzamna. Yeah. Sorry, I'm really mispronouncing these. It's Itzamna, isn't it? Good card that I think we might avail ourselves of at some stage. Okay, so let's move into the Mythos phase. First Doom is down. Let's see what the lovely encounter deck has for us. And we start with a Crypt Chill. Yes, we start with a Crypt Chill. Test 4. If you fail, choose and discard a card. So, well, I've already brought this out, so we can't use that. We could get rid of our disc, but to be honest, we've already got a Solano fragment, so if I lose it, I'll lose it. So let's go ahead and just see if we do, and we do lose it. So we get Crypt Chilled. We lose the fragments. No big problem. That's fine. We can deal with that. All right. So we'll move into the investigation phase. Okay. So I think my 3 actions onto Harvey. I think for my first action, I am going to spend the 3 and bring out the disc, because it just allows me to evade or kill an enemy, you know, a ghoul minion or something. Yeah, so we'll do that. The second action, I'm going to investigate again. So 2 versus a 5, so a -3 or better. And we draw... Did we draw another -3? Or was that... No, it's not. It's not done it. Don't know why. Let's try again. -4. Oh dear. So that's... no, we failed. So let's do it again. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, so we succeed. Okay. So now I could move into the hallway now, but if an enemy pops up in the study, I can get rid of it and move on, so I'll just wait. So that was slightly frustrating when we got out our disc, but then we failed our investigation and then we succeeded. So we've got our clues we can get out of the study next time. So a little bit slow for Harvey, but that's all right. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of, so we move into Upkeep. We get another Arcane Enlightenment. We're really not drawing the cards we want, but anyway. I've got plenty of time. And Mythos Phase, there are 2 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. Grasping Hands. Yeah, this is probably the one that Harvey's not so good at defending against. Test 3, we're at 2, and we have no way, so we're just going to have to wear this one. Let's see what we get from the encounter deck. And we get a 0. That's not too bad. So we take 1 damage. Yeah, so that's not too bad. That could have been worse. All right, so Grasping Hands in the study causing us some problems. Okay, so we move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Harvey. So let's no, what am I doing? Let's throw in the clues. So we'll throw in the 2 clues. So yeah. You notice that the edges of your newly purchased rug are tattered and mud-stained. Finding this odd, you shift the furniture aside and pull back the rug. To your surprise, you see a door leading out of your study. You slowly turn the knob and the door swings open, revealing your hallway below. You shuffle through the doorway, landing on your feet on soft dirt. The door to the study slams shut. The smell of burning wood fills the narrow hall, intermingled with the scent of rot and decay. So we put out all the cards, get rid of the study. Yeah, now... normally, of course, these wouldn't be out, but just for the sake of speed, I put them out straight away, so I wouldn't have to do it at this stage. Okay, so we are now on Act 2A, The Barrier. A glowing barrier blocks the path to your parlour. As you move toward it, intense heat forces you to back away. Picking up a handful of dirt, you toss it at the barrier and watch in horror as the dirt incinerates. Perhaps there's something in the cellar or the attic that can help. When the round ends, investigators in the hallway may as a group spend the requisite number of clues to advance. There we go. It is slightly, I just realized, slightly frustrating with this deck that one of the core mechanics for Harvey Walters is, of course, if you draw a card during your investigation phase, you can draw an additional card. Now, one of the features of a lot of the neutral cards like Perception, like Manual Dexterity, is that you can, and Guts, is that you can draw a card if you succeed. So it's kind of a little unfortunate that they didn't include those cards. There's probably a reason why, but I suppose if I was building the deck from scratch, I would probably include cards like that, because then you're leaning into Harvey's core ability. Okay. So here we are in the hallway. Yeah. So we can release the hallway or uncover the hallway. So let's pop up to the attic. La-di-da-di-da, up to the attic. Yeah, 2 clues in the attic. And of course, as we said, the site of haberdashery, home butchery, and paint and decoration products in the attic. It's just too much for Harvey, and he takes a horror. Yep. Okay. Now, So, what do we do now? I suppose we can just go ahead and investigate, but I feel like, so this is what I'm going to do, because I feel like we should be leaning into this a bit more. I'm going to spend 1 and bring out the Seleno. I'm going to call them Seleno fragments. That's my second action. And then for my third action, I'm actually going to draw a card. Ah, good. There we go. There's the other one. And because I drew a card, I can draw another card. There we go. So I've actually used his special ability. And we get Burning the Midnight Oil. When this action begins, gain 2 resources. Okay. All right, so we got ourselves up into the attic. Next time we'll get these clues. I'm really kind of leaning into the idea that we've now got 5 cards in our hand. So we've now got +1 intellect now. So we're running at a 6 intellect. And hopefully we can build up our card source, because we're going to need it if we're going to use these cards. Okay, so let's move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of, so we move into upkeep and we get another disc. That's good. So we've now got 6 cards. We can get up to 9. Yeah, it would be nice to actually increase the hand size again if we can. Well, I guess we can if we bring out another Arcane Enlightenment, because we can have 2 of them. So that would allow us to carry lots of tomes and have a hand size of 10. Okay, let's move into the Mythos phase, and there we go. That has flipped. Sorry, not flipped. It has flipped. It's activated. So here we are. Your house continues to change before your very eyes. The walls have decayed and the ground in many rooms has turned to dirt. It's almost as if you've been transported somewhere else entirely, although every now and again you recognize elements of your former home. Lead investigators must either discard a card or take 2 horror. I don't want to discard a card, so I will take the 2 horror, because we've got horror to burn, he says. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll bring out the next card. Oh, it's there. Where did that come from? That's very strange. I didn't know it did that. So, rise of the ghouls. The floor beneath you is giving way, and you see a vast network of tunnels twisting into the darkness below. Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels. Lots of S's there, aren't there? Shapes and silhouettes of strange creatures move swiftly through the tunnels, trying to find a way up silently. You probably don't want to be here when they do. Yes. Okay. So we've got, yeah. All right. So let's draw from the Mythos phase and let's see what we get. Hello. Encounter deck. And we get a swarm of rats. A swarm of rats. So we could get rid of this and kill the rats. We could try and fight the rats. Yes, we could. I guess this is what it's for. Let's go. Well, that's 1 versus 1, so we could have a go at just punching the rats to death and saving this for something else. But we have got another one. What do we do here? Well, maybe I'll have 1 go at punching the rats, because at the moment the skulls are also 0. And if that doesn't work, when it spawns, I don't have that choice. Oh, bugger it. Let's just do it. I don't want to be messing around with rats. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and investigate 3 actions. So it's investigation phase. Are we on the investigation phase? No, we are not. So we'll move into the investigation phase and we'll put 3 actions onto Harvey. So I think we just go ahead and get these clues first of all. Yep, let's do that. So first action, 1 versus, we're running at a 6 now. 1 versus 6. Chaos Bag gives us a +1, so we succeed. Why are there 2 clues here? There shouldn't be 2 clues. Should only be 1 clue because, don't know how that happened. Yeah, because we used up our clues to get out of the study. Okay, and we'll do that again. So our second action is to investigate again. Chaos Bag, it gives us a -1, so we succeed. We get both the clues and the victory point, and the crowd goes wild, of course. Got 1 action left. What do we do with our final action? I could have used this, couldn't I? But I might keep it for the pips. So I think we draw a card. We get Preposterous Sketches. Okay. So we can draw even more cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 7 of 9. So it'd be nice to bring out Arcane Enlightenment, which would allow us to carry 10 cards then. And then we can then get +1 willpower as well. Very nice. Okay, so that's the end of the act. So basically we investigated twice and then we drew a card. So let's move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So we move into Upkeep Good. And we get Witten Green. So that's a good card. But we don't have the resources at the moment. So we probably perhaps should have used this, but we didn't. But anyway, that's all right. We can do something about that. Okay, so that's the end of the Upkeep phase. We move into the first Doom goes down. Let's see what the encounter deck has for us, and it has Obscuring Fog. Well, that's a bit of a free pass, isn't it? Obscuring Fog. Care factor 0. Okay. All right, so that's Obscuring Fog. So we can move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Harvey. Okay, so what do we want to do here? So first action, we will move into the hallway. Second action, we will move into the cellar. Yes, 2 clues. As we're walking down the stairs, we are too busy looking at the Seleno fragments, and we trip and fall down the stairs and take a damage. Yep. Ouch. Yep. Okay, we've got 1 action left. It's a 4 here. I think we go ahead and investigate. But we're going to use this. So investigate. When this action begins, gain 2 resources. So when it begins, you get the 2 resources. Very nice. Are we throwing anything into this investigation? So we are a 4. Sorry, not 4. We are a 5. We're a 6. It's a 6 versus a 4. 6 versus a 4. We're not going to use this, so we might as well just chuck this in and make it an 8 versus a 4. An 8 versus a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a +1. We succeed. Very nice. Okay, so there we go. Got 1 action left. No, we don't. That was our final action. So yeah, so basically we moved from the attic to the cellar, and we did a successful investigation, gained a couple of resources through burning the midnight oil. So next time we'll get Witten Green out, and again, just try and build up our hand a little bit if we can. All right. So we move into the enemy phase. No enemies to speak of. So we move in and we get deduction. A bit late for that, but anyway. I just actually, one of the things I didn't think about was it's probably a good idea to get Leader Chandler in the mix once we can. Although, I'm not sure. We can't really evade the Ghoul Priest, so we'd probably have to take an attack of opportunity to do that. But anyway, we'll see where we get to. All right, so that's the end of the Upkeep phase. So we move into the Mythos phase. 2 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has, and it has Ancient Evils. So we will put another Doom down. No biggie. Okay, we've had, apart from the rats, we've not really had much in the way of enemies, which is good. So we'll move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Harvey. Now, what are we going to do here? Well, I think the first thing we do is we spend 4 and we bring out Witten Green. So we get another +1 if you control a tome or a relic asset, and we do. So that gives us we're now running at a 7 intellect, which is nice. So that's the first thing that we'll do. Second action, so that was the first action. Second action, let's go ahead and investigate the cellar. So it's a 4 and we are a 7. 7 versus a 4. I think that's pretty good. I want to keep some of these because if we're gonna get Leader Chandler, we're gonna need it. 7 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, so we get that quite easily, and that means therefore that we get another victory point, and the crowd goes wild. Great. We've got 2 actions left. So I think what I'm going to do is I really want to have a bigger hand size. Because if we got 10, but do we need extra willpower? I suppose not really. It would only be if we could get 15 or more cards, so that's not really super helpful. So let me think about this, because what's to stop us now going and getting the Ghoul Priest activated? Because I feel like with this card you get +1 and deal +1 damage for this attack for each card discarded. So what we're going to need is lots of cards. Yeah. Because then we can discard cards and we can do damage. And if we've got Leader Chandler as well, then yeah, that would give us an extra damage. Yeah, so what I think we can go ahead, I think. So what I've got a plan here. I've got a plan. We'll go back to the hallway. We will then draw a card, which means we draw another card. So we draw lots of cards. We've now got a hand size of 8. What we'll do is we'll throw it in. We'll get the Ghoul Priest. We will move to the parlor, which will kill Witten Green, attack of opportunity. But then we will get Leader Chandler. Then we can then kill the Ghoul Priest because we'll get +1 damage. Yeah, I think that's what we do. Okay, nice. All right, so that's the end. So basically, we got the final clue. We yeah, we got the final clue. We moved to the hallway. We drew a card, which meant we could draw another card. So we've got a nice full hand of cards. I think we're in a good place. Yep. Cool. Okay. Yep. So we will move into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of. So we'll move into upkeep. We get another Witten Green. We've got a hand slot of 9, which we can have, which is amazing. So very nice. So that's the end of the round, which means we can throw in our 3 clues. Yep, throw in our 3 clues. Why is my little circle thing going around? Okay, which means we've done this, so we can flip this over. They're using the barrel from the attic. You carry ice and snow from the cellar and hurl it at the barrier. The barrier sparks and shudders as it consumes the ice, then hisses and fades out of existence. The barrier blocking passage into the parlor is vanished. Reveal the parlor. And also set aside Leader Chandler into play over here in the parlor. And of course the Ghoul Priest in the hallway. Hello, Harvey. Hello? Oh, see you've got some friends and some books. Maybe we can just have a chat about arcane rituals. What do you think? We'll need to fight. Oh, hello, Harvey. Why don't you come and talk to me in the parlour? We can have a nice cup of tea. All right, so there we go. That's all those actions at the end of the round. So we're all ready to go. And it's only turn 6, so pretty good, actually. We probably could have done it even faster, but I was being a little bit... So we move into Mythos Phase, 4 Doom down. Let's see what the Encounter deck has. And it has an Ancient Evils, so that just makes 5 Doom, so that's fine. Okay, so we are back into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to Harvey. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what are we going to do here? So, I think the first action is a bit radical, I know, but let's do it. Let's move into the parlor. So we take an attack of opportunity and kill Witten Green. Dead. Gone. Okay, so that's the first thing. I mean, we could have stood our ground and kept Witten Green, but I feel like we should do this. Next action, we will parley with Leader Chandler. She's a... What is she? Oh, here. 4. And we are a 5. We're a 6. A 6 versus a 4. Let's make it an 8. 8 versus 4. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. So we take control of Leader Chandler. It's our second action. And of course, that doesn't provoke an attack of opportunity. Third action, let's go ahead and fight the Ghoul Priest. So let's spend 2. I've not done this before. Let's see how this works. So we will bring this out. Fight. This uses intellect. You get +1 and deal +1 damage for this attack for each card discarded as part of this card. So discard up to 2 cards from your hand. So 1, 2. So we discard 2 cards. Only up to 2 cards, yeah. So I get +1 intellect and +1 damage for each card. So that gives me a 5. That gives me a 6. 8. So that's an 8 versus a 4. So as long as we don't auto-fail, we're fine. And the amount of damage that we will do is +2. So we do 2, 3, and then of course Leader Chandler will make that 4. So we will do 4 points of damage. So we won't kill the Ghoul Priest, but we'll come close. That's right, isn't it? We do 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points of damage. Chaos Bag gives us a tablet, -2. So we succeed. If there's a ghoul enemy at your location, take a damage. Okay, so we take a... Is he a ghoul? Yes, he is. So we take a damage, and we do 4 points of damage to the Ghoul Priest. Wow. Ow! Got that right, didn't I? So I discarded 2 cards. So I get +1 damage for each card discarded. So that's 2, 3, and then 1 for Leader Chandler is 4. So the Ghoul Priest is looking shaky, but he ain't dead yet. Let's go ahead. And so that was the end of our... So we basically took an attack of opportunity and lost Witten Green. We successfully parleyed with Lita, and then we attacked using the Occult Invocation, and we really did some nasty damage to the Ghoul Priest. So let's move into the enemy phase. The Ghoul Priest then attacks us with 2 and 2. So let's just put those onto Lita, because she can take 3 and 3. Wow. So she takes that. Oh, ow! Oh, Ghoulie! Careful! And that's end of the enemy phase. And let's then move into the upkeep phase. We get higher education. Now we get higher education. It's a bit too late for that, but that's all right. That's fine. Yep. So then we will move into the Mythos phase. 6 Doom down. Let's see what the encounter deck has. It has a ghoul minion. Hello, I'll help. You're a bit late. So there we go. A ghoul minion turns up. No biggie. It's all a bit late for that. There we go. Ghoul minion arrives. So we will move into the investigation phase. And I just realized one problem. My God, I've only got 1 resource, and this Occult Invocation takes 2 resources. Oops. Yeah, so I'm going to have to... Well, I can resign. Oh, it's all too much. But what I will do instead is, no, I won't do that. I will draw a resource and take an attack of opportunity. So 3 horror and 3 damage. 3 horror and 3 damage. So Leader Chandler, can I take it? 6. I can. 3 horror, 3 damage. I'll just take that. So I'll take the 3 damage. Wow. He's really robust. So we're up to 6 and 6. Yeah. All right. So I was going to kill Leader Chandler, but we don't need to do that. Then let's spend the 2 resources. Lots of attacks of opportunity here. There we go. We will play this again. I can discard up to 2 cards. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's discard a couple of cards here. Oh, it doesn't really matter which one. So we'll discard 2 cards. But we don't get this anymore. So we don't get the +1 here. But that's all right. So we're still a 5. We're still a 5. We're 7. We're a 7. We can throw in one of these to make it an 8. Oh, let's make... do we need... No, that's all we need. 8, because there's no -5. I don't think. Oh, let's make it a 9. What the hell? So there we go. That's a 9. A 9 versus 4. And if this succeeds, the Ghoul Priest dies. Hush across the gathering. The crowd goes very silent. Harvey starts reading from his strange book. Fires start drawing up. The Ghoul Priest is cowering back. The Ghoul minions hiding behind a barrel. And the Chaos Bag gives us an Elder Sign! Oh my goodness, the conflagration! The conflagration. We draw a card, which means... and the Ghoul Priest takes another 4 points of damage. Totally destroyed. I mean, in fairness, probably the Ghoul minion went down as well. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. The Ghoul Priest goes down. Quick succession. So there we go. That was Harvey Walters. So that was pretty good. We did that in only 8 turns. I'm just trying to think. That probably, in 8 turns, that gets him up there in the top 10 for sure. So... he doesn't have 7 experience points because we didn't get any extra victory points, but we did that pretty fast. And the fastest is, I think Diana Stanley was the fastest. She managed to do the whole thing in 7 turns. So this is the only other person. There is a couple of others that have done it in 8 turns. So that is pretty fast. And actually... I could have probably done it faster if I'd really raced through. I could have jumped out of the study, jumped up to the attic. Not having played Harvey before, I just wasn't sure how it was all going to work. So I probably took more time than I needed to, but that's all right. It's the investigator games, and Harvey has certainly done well. Without that invocation card, though, it would have been impossible to take on the Ghoul Priest, but it worked pretty well. Our engine of card drawing and hand size didn't quite work, but the gathering, it's often difficult to get your engine to work because you just simply don't have the time to do it. But everything was very successful. The crowd is cheering. Harvey's waving at the crowd. That was quite a fireworks display at the end. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Now, next time, let's take the new rogue investigator through, Winifred Habermock, who looks like an aviator. Very exciting rogue. Let's take her through the gathering and see how she goes. Be a bit of a change of pace. But until then, thanks once again. I'm Krabby Terror 8, and goodbye. Hence saving, precious actions. Now, I did draw a signature weakness not signature weakness, sorry, I did draw a random basic weakness, and it's narcolepsy. Oh, multiplayer. Boy. You think I would have looked at the bloody weakness before? Multiplayer only. Bloody hell. As well. And I think people were also talking about, I forget his name, the Dream guy. What's his name? Oh, jeez, I can't remember half these investigators. I forget his name now. The one who was in the sort of a dream traveler. Yes. So anyway, but I think, there's obvious synergies here for a Daisy deck.